And we're back. Thanks for tuning in today. Go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot, and in turn, helps you. Now, let's talk about Letitia James. You know she's currently facing a wave of allegations regarding mortgage fraud that allegedly span back decades, possibly all the way to the 1980s. One of the claims is that she may have listed her father as her husband on a mortgage document, possibly to secure a loan or get a better rate. There are many layers to this, and it's a wild situation. Let's not forget, she's the same person who went after Donald Trump for making false claims on mortgage or loan applications. That makes all this even more surprising. Now, the latest twist in this story is that in addition to mortgage fraud, there are now claims that Letitia James may have committed insurance fraud as well. This whole ordeal looks like it's going to drag on for a while. It won't be one of those cases that just disappear after a quick explanation. The new development involves insurance fraud allegations. But before we get into that, let's take a moment to see what Byron Donalds has to say about the situation. He's a rising Republican figure and is expected to run for governor of Florida soon. Let's look at his thoughts on the matter. A year ago on Valentine's Day, James tweeted, "Roses are red, violets are blue, no one's above the law. Even when you think the rules don't apply to you, happy Valentine's Day." That tweet was directed at Donald Trump. Now, her critics are using her own words against her. Florida Congressman and gubernatorial candidate Byron Donalds is speaking out. He calls the situation ironic. Karma, payback, and revenge all seem relevant here. When asked whether the DOJ might charge her, Donald said that if there is clear evidence she broke the law and committed mortgage fraud, especially considering that she claimed residency in another state while serving as New York's Attorney General, then she should be charged. He pointed out that she was quick to accuse Donald Trump of putting false information on loan applications, which is exactly what she's now accused of. He also brought up how she accused Trump of falsely valuing Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, calling that a ridiculous lie. If investigators find probable cause that she committed mortgage fraud for her own benefit, then yes, Donalds believes she should be charged. That's how the justice system should work. These alleged falsified records date back to 2023, which also happens to be the year she put Trump on trial. Donalds was also asked if there should be concern about her allegedly listing her father as her husband. He responded that most people would find that strange and concerning. It's just not something considered normal behavior. This is what happens, he says, when public officials go on witch hunts while allegedly doing shady things behind the scenes. If the allegations are true, she should be held accountable like anyone else. Now, moving back to the insurance fraud claims, this is being reported by Gateway Pundit, which has been leading coverage on a mortgage fraud story and is now looking into potential insurance fraud. The fraud allegedly stems from James' claim of residence on a mortgage for a home in Norfolk, Virginia. Whether or not a property is owner-occupied significantly affects how insurance companies determine homeowners' insurance rates. Owner-occupied homes are seen as lower risk because they're typically better maintained, and issues like theft, fire, or water damage are caught early or prevented altogether. Because of that, insurance premiums are usually lower. Non-owner-occupied homes, like rentals or vacation properties, are considered higher risk and tend to have higher insurance rates. For rental properties, landlords need special insurance, often called DP3 policies, which cover the dwelling, liability, and loss of rental income. So, if someone claims that a rental property is owner-occupied, that would be considered fraud. They would be receiving lower insurance rates that they wouldn't otherwise qualify for. The same principle could apply to her reported claim that there were only 4 units in her Brooklyn apartment building. Insurance rates for apartment buildings can vary greatly depending on the number of units, especially when comparing buildings with 4 or fewer units to those with 5 or more. If she took out an insurance policy under the claim that the building had 4 or fewer units, she'd likely receive a lower premium. This doesn't just apply to James. Any property owner would benefit from such a claim, even if it's not accurate. Typically, individuals are allowed to own or live in a building with 4 or fewer units. This falls under federal regulations. If a building is 5 or more units, it's considered an investment property, which means higher rates apply for both mortgages and insurance. If someone falsely claims their 5-unit property is a 4-unit property, they might receive better rates, but they also risk committing insurance fraud. Speaking of fraud, Sam Anner has been involved in investigations related to Letitia James. He has a personal history involving financial crimes, which ironically makes him quite knowledgeable and almost a vigilante when it comes to exposing similar misconduct. He recently gave an interview where he discussed the Letitia James case. He's considered the source behind the details in this case. Sam Anter, a forensic accountant with a colorful background, appeared in an interview to discuss Letitia James. He revealed significant information about her. Living close by in New York, Anter started by talking about a property James claimed as her primary residence, located in Norfolk, Virginia. This is roughly a 5 or 6 hour drive from New York. She made this claim while serving as New York Attorney General. According to Anner's report, James signed a specific power of attorney declaring her intent to make 604 Sterling Street in Norfolk, Virginia, her principal residence. This legally binding declaration could have automatically ended her tenure as Attorney General under Public Officers Law 30. This document was signed just 45 days before she launched her civil fraud case against Donald Trump. Anner explained she purchased a Virginia property with a relative in 2023 and closed on it just before the Trump trial. In the county clerk's records, she gave power of attorney to her cousin or niece to finalize a mortgage. On the document, she stated her intention to use the property as her primary residence. There are 2 issues. First, it's hard to believe she intended to move to Virginia during the Trump trial. Second, Section 6 of the mortgage required both her and her niece to live in property as their primary residence within 60 days. Not just one of them. When asked why she might do this, Anner stated it was for lower interest rates and called her a petty thief. Compared to Trump, Anner said Trump isn't a real felon, but he is, indicating his personal experience with criminal charges. He mentioned that anyone following the appellate court arguments would see that the judges might vacate the entire Trump case, suggesting the penalty he faced was outrageous. Anter then discussed James' actual residence in Brooklyn. That property is a multifamily home she owns and lives in. He discovered that James had been claiming the townhouse was a 4-unit dwelling when it actually is 5 units. The motivation was again to get lower mortgage rates. Properties with 1 to 4 units have different underwriting and insurance guidelines than those with 5 or more units, which are considered commercial. Despite a certificate of occupancy showing 5 units, James lied in her filings. Complaints were submitted to the Department of Buildings, but they dismissed it as a minor issue. Other landlords committing similar infractions would typically face fines and be forced to modify their buildings. James lied on these documents and didn't deny it. Anter noted another situation from 1983. James took out a $30,000 loan with her father, but filed the application under husband and wife. This was originally discovered by Joel Gilbert, not Anter. He emphasized he didn't want to take credit for Gilbert's work. James and her father had purchased a house as father and daughter, but submitted the mortgage under husband and wife, which qualified for different underwriting. This property is separate from the Brooklyn home and located in Queens. Though it occurred over 40 years ago, it still adds to a pattern of behavior. There were also allegations of her using taxpayer money, nearly $42,000, to fly on private jets to destinations like Martha's Vineyard and Puerto Rico. These flights were booked through a vendor called Venture Jets, which no other government agency had used since at least 2014 for private travel. In 2022, after the government stopped paying for the flights, her campaign started covering the costs. Anner noted that many of these taxpayer-funded trips coincided with major campaign events, which could be problematic. He worked on an investigation for 7 months and explained how he became so skilled at uncovering fraud. He admitted he was a criminal for 20 years and became good at it. The FBI recognized his talents and helped guide him after the Crazy Eddie case. Through investigations, the FBI taught him how cases are built. The experiences and consequences from his criminal past made him a better person. He shared that he enjoys solving puzzles and working with numbers. Finally, Anner clarified he does not work for the Trump administration and did the investigation independently on his own time and dime. He emphasized that he holds everyone accountable, regardless of their political affiliation. Sam Anter, thank you so much, sir. We appreciate it. Great. Now, of course, James did somewhat address these allegations in a recent interview of hers. She kind of sideswiped the allegations, but you know what she didn't do? She did not come out with a full-throated denial of these allegations. And frankly, even if she had, it looks like we're seeing with potential insurance fraud claims. Even if she had denied the previous claims, new claims are still coming out. So maybe it is better from her perspective, because if she can come out and deny it every time, maybe it makes a lot more sense for her to just lay low for now. Let's take a look at what she said. Good to see you. Miss James, thanks for joining us. Thank you for having me, Errol. Absolutely. What is going on here? Did anybody contact you before this letter went out accusing you of this, that, and the other, and making a criminal referral about real estate transactions? No, not at all. And let me just say to all New Yorkers and all Americans, the allegations are baseless. The allegations are nothing more than a revenge tour. And as you mentioned, my office was successful in securing a $454 million judgment against Donald Trump and others for exaggerating the value of his assets. He engaged in a pattern and practice of fraud. And the interest is accruing each and every day while the case is on appeal in the First Department. It's important that individuals know that this is nothing more than the continuation of the tour. He went after law firms, universities, immigrants, women. Thousands of federal employees right now are unemployed. Our government is in chaos and in disarray. Medicaid, Social Security, CFPB, and the list goes on and on and on. And as you mentioned, each and every day, my office is leading the fight against these executive orders which have no legal import at all, have no legal significance. And we are standing up for the rights and privileges of New Yorkers and Americans. I will not be silenced. I will not be bullied. I will not bend. I will not break. And I will not bow to anyone. No one is above the law, including the President of the United States. The Office of the Attorney General will continue to stand up. Let me follow up on some of what's in this letter. It says that according to media reports, which for us in the media is kind of red flag, it seems to be based on some social media posts that I know were made by partisan political actors. But let me ask you about some of the specifics in the letter. They're saying that your house in Brooklyn is a legal 5-family, and the mortgage on it is for a 4-family house. Is that true? So let me just say that, Errol, as any good attorney, I will not litigate this case on camera. It's important that we will respond to these allegations at the appropriate time and in an appropriate way, but I will not go back and forth with respect to these baseless allegations. I am more focused again on standing up for the freedoms, the liberties, and for the rule of law in the state of New York. I was under the impression by all of this that what they were really looking for is what they got, which is a headline saying, Tish James is under criminal investigation. Is that pretty much what's going on here? Yeah, that's what they got. That's what they got. And it's unfortunate that you have some of these right-wing conservative individuals who are camped out in front of my home and in front of the homes of my relatives in Virginia, harassing them each and every day. And it's unfortunate. Knocking on the doors of my neighbors and the neighbors of my relatives in the state of Virginia. And it is nothing more than a headline. Nothing more than, again, retaliation against all the actions that I had taken successfully against Donald Trump. So, we are seeing a steady drip of very, very concerning information about Letitia James. First, the initial claim was that a 5-unit building was reported as a 4-unit to potentially get better mortgage rates. Then it came out that she and her father may have claimed to be husband and wife on a mortgage application. Then it was revealed that a property in Virginia, where she claimed she would be the owner-occupant, was allegedly misrepresented, even though it's known she lives in New York because she's the New York Attorney General. Now it's being reported that she may have committed insurance fraud in connection with these mortgage issues. Who knows what else is going to come out? Of course, she is certainly innocent until proven guilty. We're just covering this because it's national news, as she has made herself a national figure. She chose to step onto the national stage. And frankly, this is interesting. So I'd like to hear what y'all have to say. Please let me know in the comments below. But before you do, you already know what I'm going to ask. Please stop, hit the share button. Share this video with somebody through email, Facebook, text message, WhatsApp, Instagram, Snapchat, through all social media and communication platforms. Even word of mouth works. And of course, if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. Thank y'all for watching. Love y'all, and we'll see you back in the next.